actually about to go to the beach after I film this, so I considered just filming the intro like this, but it feels a little naked. Ugh. And now we're family friendly. Alrighty, if you haven't watched part 1, you really should. But to fill you in, I basically crocheted 100 flowers for 100K, and then I crocheted 50 more. So now we have 150 flowers, and we need to actually turn them into some sort of garment. And this is low-key the part I've been dreading, because making the flowers is quite therapeutic, and I feel like this part will be significantly less therapeutic. These are clearly falling all over the floor, so I'm going to put them down now. So I really haven't decided what garment I actually want to make. Maybe like a top and a skirt or a dress. All I know is I want it to be more organic, so like no straight edges, and more form-fitting, body-hugging. But that is about as far as I've gotten. But I feel like the best place to start is by just pinning on Bartholomew and figuring out what kind of textile I want to make. Like I did some preliminary pinning in the last part, but that was highly not methodical. So, okay, we have 2 sizes of flowers, a bigger one and a smaller one, just because I wanted to give it a little bit more variety. So I think I'm going to try and lay it out so each big one is surrounded by small ones. One thing I forgot to do is go through and like tighten the magic loop in the center of these flowers to get rid of that hole. I guess I'll just do it as I go. Okay, so I tried 2 different pinning methodologies. On this side, I tried to fit the flowers together like puzzle pieces to make it like a more solid textile with fewer holes. And then on this side, I just attached the tips of the petals to each other so that it's more of like an open textile. And now I need to figure out which one I like more. So the thing is, I like how this side has a more organic falling flower kind of look, but I like that this side's a lot more practical. Because if I made an entire garment like this, I feel like it would basically just be a beach cover-up. So maybe I do like the main part of the garment, like this side, so that, you know, all the key parts are covered. And then maybe on the periphery of the garment, so like up near the top or like the bottom of the skirt, I can transition it into more of the open textile. I don't know. Either way, I need to figure out what actual silhouette I'm making. I don't know why I think I can keep just putting that off. It's kind of important. Okay, I started scrolling through my crochet knit inspo saves on Instagram, and I came across this dress. I'll insert some photos, but basically it's a halter dress with like a deep V and with like side cutouts, and then it has the whole back exposed, and it's like very low cut in the back, like borderline ass crack, if we're being honest. And so I'm thinking if we recreated that, it would kind of meet my brief for something more organic. Like it would be a deep V here, and then the whole back would be out. And that would also give us a lot more flowers to potentially make a long skirt. Because I really like the idea of doing a long skirt, but I thought it would just be an absurd number of flowers. If the top is like barely existent, then maybe I won't have to make that many additional flowers to get a skirt. You know what? I'm committing to the bit. I'm just gonna start pinning that silhouette and we'll see what happens. So I definitely dropped like many pins, so if I step on one and get tetanus, well, it'd be my fault. I don't really know where I was going with that sentence. Anyway, here's how Bartholomew is looking. I think we need to adopt the like pin a little, sew a little, try it on, adjust methodology. A, because I'm not built like Bartholomew, like her titties are clearly much bigger than mine, and because once it's a fabric, it'll drape and gravity, but you know what I mean. I normally attach crochet things with yarn, but I already have a lot of ends to deal with, and I don't want it to be a perfectly flush fabric. Like I want some petals to sort of be loose so they can be 3D, and I just think needle and thread will give me a little bit more precision. OGs know that I actually started off posting sewing content on TikTok, hand sewing content, because I didn't have my machine in the very beginning of lockdown, but I have not picked up a needle and thread in a hot minute. So this is either going to be very therapeutic or literally drive me out of my fucking mind. I also might do a shoddier sewing job for now because I just think it's very likely I'm going to have to make adjustments, and I can always go back and reinforce it later. But I'm going to meet up with a friend and get boba first, and then we will come back and start sewing this together.
사랑한다고 말해줬다면 믿어줄 수 있겠니? 넌 오직 상처만 받고 있었지.
So it is currently midnight. I am in my bathroom because the lighting in my bedroom was actually freaking me out. And I've connected a majority of the flowers, which has resulted in this. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why does that so strongly resemble used toilet paper? Or at least that's what I'm thinking. Basically, I feel like I kind of knew this was going to be an issue, but because there's no negative space between the flowers, you can't tell they're flowers. It's just this weird textured mass. I tried to leave some of the petals loose to help with that issue, but it didn't help that much. So I think what we do now is I take this apart, which is only slightly heart-wrenching because this did take several hours, and I need to revert to that more open textile that I showed in the beginning, which will make this garment a lot less practical, but that is simply a later problem. For now though, I'm gonna go to bed, and we're gonna come back to this with fresh eyes and a fresh mind, because I am frankly a bit unwell right now. Okay, as you can probably tell, I'm back in my New York apartment. My dad managed to disassemble Bart Bass and fit her in this fairly small box with my sewing machine so I could check it in as a piece of luggage. And we're basically starting over, if you couldn't tell from her current nude state. What I did notice in the last round of pinning and sewing is that the loose ends really get in the way. So I went through and tightened the magic circle and tied and trimmed the ends on all the flowers. So that should hopefully make this process a little bit faster this time around. Honestly, what I really should do is pre-block all the flowers before I do any of this, but there's simply no way that's happening. I'm just gonna block the final garment. But yeah, now it's time for us to start pinning again. Okay guys, here's what happened. I took a bunch of footage for this video and put it on a new little flash drive that I got on Amazon. I actually just checked the reviews for the flash drive. It got 3 out of 5, so one could argue this entire thing was my mistake. But essentially the drive corrupted a bunch of my footage to a point where it cannot be repaired. And trust me, I tried. Honestly, it might be a blessing in disguise because this video was getting so long from how many times the dress was not going according to plan, because I did sew the flowers to each other. I will insert a photo of what it looked like. It honestly looks better in the photo than it did in real life, but because I was connecting the tips of the petals, it was leading it to stretch and warp, and it was almost giving star instead of flower. Anyway, I hated it, so I took it all apart. And I think a part of me knew that trying to attach flowers to each other was never going to be the move. I just didn't know what else to do, because a bunch of cream flowers on a cream fabric doesn't sound very cute. But I figured out a solution. There is this Bodhi shirt that I've had on my Pinterest board for literally ever. I actually have started making the shirt. I just never got around to finishing it. But it has these little berries and leaves attached to it. But I'm thinking I do the same thing, but attach the flowers. Because then there's a surface to attach the flower to, but because the surface isn't completely solid, you can still see the shape of the flower, if that makes sense. So I got to work crocheting a base mesh dress. I did it in the same shape that I originally talked about with the deep V and the side cutouts and the open back. For the skirt, it was really just a tube and you had to make it bigger for the ass and then bring it in a little. And then for the top, I just did 2 triangular panels so it can like tie in the back and around the neck. I feel like the way I'm describing it, I'm making it sound like this was a very painless process. It very much was not, because when you're working with a grid, doing anything besides a rectangle requires you to really engage your brain cells, which I famously don't like doing. But I am happy with how the fit of the dress turned out. And from here on out, the rest of the video, I'm just attaching the flowers to the dress. I wanted to try and place them strategically, like over the nips and the coochie, just because I feel like seeing the undergarments would be a little tacky, but I don't know. We'll see.
Let's go. 8 a.m. I couldn't fall asleep again. Been overthinking all the little things I've said. I'm sleep deprived almost every night, and I wish that I wouldn't think instead. I know the sun is up and I got things to do, but I don't think I've got the energy to move. And I go back to my dreams again, but I shouldn't be sleeping when it's daylight now and I'm stuck in my bed. Daylight now and I'm stuck in my head, 'cause I've been stressing out all on my own when I should make my way out. My home is daylight now, gotta open my eyes. Daylight now, can't be wasting my time. I'm just thinking about what I should be thinking of, and it's about time that I get. Days up staying in the same bed. I need a kickstart just to change this. I don't wanna waste a minute on the basics, but it's keeping me feeling so amazing. Stop and stretch, brush my hair, always looking like a mess. Oh, and maybe I could go and do the rest. Give it a little more faith, I'll be set.
Okay guys, the dress is done. You're probably wondering, like, bitch, where is it? Basically, I feel the need to explain to you retroactively all the things that went wrong. I decided to no longer provide live updates of my struggles because I was fed up and it was just getting embarrassing. I was like, I'm gonna wait until I'm sorted out to speak to these people again. By the way, they're doing construction downstairs and I don't know what they're doing, but it sounds like they're literally blowing things up. So if you hear anarchy in the background, that's what that is. The first thing I mentioned, I wanted to cover the key bits with the flowers, right? That more or less worked for the nipples, but imagine like a coochie and an ass crack covered in flowers. Like, that's not cute. So neither of those things are covered. Actually, the flowers looked really weird on the back of the dress. Also, how would you sit? So I removed all of them, and the back of the dress is just mesh, and well, you'll see, it's a lot of cheek. It really takes away from the wearability of the dress. The other thing, I faintly remember at some point in the video saying, oh, I should really block all these flowers before I attach them, but I'm not going to. Spoiler alert, I ended up having to, because I was sewing the flowers on and they were like curling up, and it was giving toilet paper again. And I was like, I can't do the ripped up toilet paper arc. Like, I thought we overcame that in our first iteration of this damn dress. So I took the flowers off, I blocked all of them, and then I pinned them and sewed them onto the dress. But then it still wasn't really lying as flat as I would like. So I like sprayed water on it and ironed the whole thing with my hair straightener because I don't have an actual iron. And then I let it sit under my boxes and boxes of Alani Nu PR. Basically, it's like this energy protein brand, and they send me a lot of their energy drinks, which I do like, but they send them at a rate that I cannot keep up with. So anyway, that is how I compressed the dress. It just lay like that on my coffee table for like a week. And it did get us to a point where the flowers were mostly lying flat. It was just a bit of a process. And now I can show you the actual dress. Okay, here's Bartholomew Bartbass in her final form. You're probably wondering why I'm not wearing it. A, it's just way too cold in my apartment. We don't turn the heat on. But B, I knew I was not going to be able to get a good full body shot in my room. So I literally went to my friend's apartment to film a few clips, which I will insert now. Honestly, up until the point I went to go film those clips, I was like, this dress is dumb and I just want this to be over with. But once I had it on with like the hair and the makeup and the right undergarments and the heels, I was like, oh, this is kind of a serve. It's kind of giving Cult Gaia. I still have no clue where I would wear this, given I'm like mostly naked. All I can think of is Tulum, which I have no plans of visiting anytime soon, but we can manifest. Another hilarious thing I forgot to mention, this dress only used like half of the 150 flowers, which I saw coming, but I was like, at this point in the process, I literally don't care anymore. So if you have any ideas for what to do with the other like 70 flowers, a lot of which are the bigger ones, please let a girl know. For now though, I'd like to put these flowers in a corner and like never look at them again. Okay, so I accidentally detached Bartholomew from her stem. I honestly don't think I ever reassembled her correctly, so we're just gonna hold her for now. But I think that brings us to the end of this video. This one was really a journey. I will say I think this video encapsulates better than any other video on my channel the persistence I have towards making something that I'm happy with and the many spirals that that involves. But I am glad that we landed on something that I do like. Well, if we didn't, I would just never post this video, honestly. Also, thank you again for 100K. It's now more like 130 something K because my video turnaround time is so abysmal. We're working on that. As always, feel free to follow my other socials at amazingishgrace. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys! Can you see my feet? Or do I need to rotate it? But then when I rotate it,
it's like just cut off at your feet.
So you can't
go back further.
Well, but then I'm not in the center. But then if I rotate it, you're bed.
You've been on my mind.